Hi, this is Andre. This is going to be a video showing how you can build a patch that'll automatically slice your loops to whatever beat division you want within the grid. And this is a continuation on the series I've been doing on how to build a sequence glitch sampler within the grid. And even if you haven't been following any of the other videos, you can follow this video anyway. You just won't have the same sequencer layout I have, but you can still slice loops within the grid the same way. And hopefully we'll get slicing within the sampler and all this won't be necessary. But for now, this is the workaround that I'm doing to do this. And if you haven't been following the videos, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what's going on now. So basically, we have these sequencer lanes. This one's gate, this one's retrigger, this one's probability, and this one is the one we haven't gone to yet, which is slices. So I'm going to play a note, and you'll see what's going on. I just threw an amen break in here because it's something everybody's got, and that's, you'll all recognize. So here we go. All right, so here, let me turn these down. So if these are all the way down, then it just plays one step at a time. The retriggers get faster as you pull this up, or else we can even turn them off and just use these. But anyway, here. So with this part, we can basically just rearrange the beats if we want. So we can do something like this, and then if we want to, we can go whatever, just try random things and do just weird glitchy stuff, throw in some more triggers everywhere. All right, and yeah, what this whole setup is going to look like is this. So the idea is that we're using the pitches sequencers and converting them to a signal that just simply scrolls through these merge modules, which have various values on here. And depending on where which note is playing, it'll shift to a different point. So it'll trigger a different point along the loop. So yeah, we have a bit of a crazy setup now, but anyway, whatever. So you'll see that as we play notes, it'll jump around the sample now, because this whole array is just assigned to the play position. All right, and then is it really high up? Okay. If you haven't been watching the rest of the video, this whole sequencer array, I'm not going to go through all of it because I've already done that on the last ones, but basically the idea is we have these 8 sequencers that play one after another. We have the option of direction, so forward, reverse, pendulum, or random. We have clock division, so we can double it or half it, and then we can decide the length, so between 1 sequencer, 2 sequencers, 4 sequencers, or 8. And so, yeah, you can see like we do pendulum, it'll do like this. All right. Yeah, so I'm not going to get into all that again because, yeah, that's from the last video. So let's just open up. So, yeah, if you've been following, I'm just going to open up where we left off on the last video, which is just these the trigger sequencers. So yeah, the gate, the stutter, and the probability. And then yeah, and again, like I said, if you haven't been following, you can just have whatever your own gate sequencers are. It doesn't really matter. You can still use the same technique. You might just have to adjust some of the values, but I'll try to explain that as I go along. Yeah, so right now we just have this. So it's just retriggering the first step of the amen over and over and over again. Yeah, I'm going to bring this up. I'm actually just going to turn off the speaker right now so we don't have like long amens happening. And then start this whole setup. So the first thing, can we convert these ones to pitches? No. All right, first thing let's do is create the lanes of pitches. And so to do that, let's just copy this one. This one's kind of in the way, so let's just move this out for a second. And then let me bring this down. I'm just doing this just so I can click and drag. You could actually do this on a whole separate, actually maybe that's what we should do. We could do this on a whole separate sequence. Yeah, let's do that. So let me just kind of move these things out of the way real quick. And then we'll have separate timing and everything for the slices. So that's kind of a fun thing to do. Because I like to have different timing for, different parts of it so that they all kind of run out of sync with each other. So it's not all, so you can get these kind of weird kind of sequences. So let's just copy this whole thing over. Okay. Okay, so now let's just clean this back up. Let's put that back down there. This over here. Bring the probabilities back. And yes, now we'll have independent timing, direction, and length for the slices so that we can basically change whatever the gates are doing, and the slices will be independent of that. So let's change all of these now to pitches. And yeah, I totally changed up the way I had been doing this from the patch that I showed at the beginning of this video, because I changed the way the sequencers were working, and I kind of just needed to get my head around what was going on, because that whole patch was from over a year ago, and when I started looking at everything, a lot of things seemed like they could have been done differently, and it was hard for me to remember why I did certain things. So I just basically rebuilt the whole thing today to just kind of have like a simpler version that I know everything's working right on. Okay, and then we're gonna draw in the values over here. So you might have to zoom in a little bit. The idea is that we want to have these just going up. And the way I have it is that the first 4 go up and then the next 4 go up, so it starts them over again. You don't have to do it that way, but I'll show you how this is going to work. Oh shit, no. So now these ones are going to start back at the bottom. Okay, and now let's make all of this, let's make it all orange. Now we can add it all to where all this stuff is over here. And okay, so now we have all of these here. I'm just going to keep the timing in sync with these so it doesn't get weird yet. All right, so now that we've done that, let's start building up this whole sequencer setup for the play position. So let's grab a merge and a split. Make them both have 8 inputs and put them both on nearest. Okay, and then so what we're going to do now is we're going to get a bunch of shift modules, and you can also do this with constants, but I'm doing it with shifts on this version because with shifts you can go into a higher resolution than with the constants, because basically I want it to be like 12.5%, but you can't do like 0.1 or 0.012 or what I don't remember what I'm trying to do, but anyway, the whole point is that this way, it's just how I'm doing it. So what we're going to do is each one of these is going to go, each one of them is going to be 6.25 above from the previous one. So we're going to have 0, and then we're going to have 6.25, and then we're going to have 12.5. So we're basically just dividing 1 by 16. All right, and then we're going to have 12.5 plus 6.25, so 18.75. All right, so 18.75 plus 6.25 is going to be 25. All right, plus 6.25 is going to be 31.5, I think. Wait, 25. Yeah, 31.5. I should have written this down. I'm trying to remember all this in my head, but do all the math. So 31.5 plus 6.25 is going to be 37.75. Plus 6.25 is going to be, wait, is that right? 30.5, yeah, 31.5, 37.75. All right, 37.75, 40, 40, shit. What was this again? 37.75, 43.75 plus 0.25, 44. Wait, no, that's not right. I just screwed something up because then the one over here is going to be 0.5, if I remember correctly. Wait a minute. Let me just check what my values were. My math is just totally, like, you know what? Actually, let me just do this. Let me just copy these. You can just do the math. I'm just going to copy these shift modules and put them in because for some reason my brain is a little discombobulated. Let me just copy those so I can just check it all. And then the other values, oops. I'm just going into my previous patch where I tested all this out and copying these. Because I don't remember exactly what all the values are supposed to be. Okay, so that is right. So for some reason I got confused because I thought that the one up here was supposed to be 50%. That's why I got a little confused. It is supposed to be 50.25. Okay, so yeah, I was just tripping. All right, so yeah, so then this one is supposed to actually be 44. So let me just make sure I have all these values right. None of them are messed up. Okay. Let's just duplicate this. We were supposed to have 2 merge modules. I put a split on accident. So the next one will be 50.25. All right, 50.25 plus 6.25 is going to be 56.5. I can check here if any of them are right. Yeah, 56.5. All right, plus 6.25 is going to be 62.75. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, 62.75. All right, 62.75 plus 6 will be 68.75, so 69. Yep, 69. All right, so then this will be 75.25. And then this will be 81.5. Make sure all that's right, yeah. And then this one will be 87.75. Make sure that's right, yeah. And then the next one will be, so 87.75, 93.75, 94? Yeah, 94. Why is that not an exact value? I don't know. This is what I had, so hopefully everything works. Let me just check. These are the same values I had before. Yeah, it looks like all the same. Okay. Like I said, I just rebuilt this patch today, so hopefully I've got everything working right. But it seemed to all be doing what it's supposed to do. So these are going to be for the first half, because you notice it changes, and then we're going to have like a switcher that switches it over for the second half. And it doesn't really matter where the length is or any of that. It's going to work. So let's do this. Let's grab a value, run it into here, another value, run it into here. So these are the control inputs for these merge modules. Let's call this one P1A, and this one P1B. That's just for part 1A and part 1B. P1B. And then let's just duplicate this. Call this one P2A. And P2B. And what should we do? All right, let's control these with modulators. So I'll just call these the same thing so it's not confusing. P1A, P1B, P2A, P2B. So let's assign these to each one of these. All right, so now what we're going to do, first thing, I want to have an oscilloscope to see what the hell we're doing. Let me get one over here, put it on slow. So let's run this from the output of the, this over here is the output of these note sequencers. And so you can see it's not very high. So what we're going to do is multiply it first thing by 8. In just a second, I want to see this a little better up here. I just took a screenshot of what I had so I can double check everything and not make any mistakes on this. So yeah, all right, so let's multiply this by 8. And now it should bring us all the way up. Okay, yeah. So it's going to go between 0 and 1 now. And we're just working on one side right now. So what we're going to do to control these is that we're going to, let me just see, how did I have this join from there? 50. Okay. P1. So 2 times 2. All right, so we're going to take this value. I'm not exactly sure why I did it this way, but it worked. So let's just do the same thing. So now we're going to multiply this by 2 twice for each side of these. This one will go into here. Let me move this out so it's not confusing. So this one will go into here. And then this one will go into the other one, but it's going to have a bias shifting it all the way back. Okay? So I don't know why I multiplied it by 8 and then multiplied it by 2 again. That was probably unnecessary. I could have just multiplied it by 16, but whatever. This is just how I did it. Oh, just a minute. Hey, I'm recording a video. All right. So what was I about to do? Okay, so is that one running into here yet? Oh, I didn't assign this. Okay. All right, so now that's working. You see, it plays through these values, and then it plays through these values. And I guess we probably we should have done this before copying these over, but it doesn't really matter. Let's just copy the same thing over. So this will go into P2A. This will go into P2B. And so they're both playing at the same time, but what we're going to do is we're going to have a switcher that joins them. So the first thing we're going to do is, join these two. So let's get a select. And let's just call this part 1 join. P1 join. Run this output into the top, this output into the bottom. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say that when this, at above 0.5 of this, it's going to switch them over. So let's grab, or when it's equal or greater than it. So let's grab a one of these from over here. I want to try to lay this out in a way that's not too messy. I feel like it's already a little bit kind of scattered, but whatever. Hopefully you can all keep up with this stuff and it's clear enough. All right, let's get a constant, run it into here, make this 0.5. And then that's going to go into this switcher over here. And yeah, let's do this so that everything's a little more clear. I'm just going to kind of try to clean these things up a little bit. Bring this up here. This over here. Okay, hopefully that's kind of clean. And then here, let's just run the oscilloscope from here. Oh, is one of them not plugged in? This one's not plugged in. That one's not plugged in. Okay. All right, and then we're going to have to do the same thing on this side again. I should have done this before duplicating these, but either way, if you didn't get a clearer view of what was going on the first time, you should get it the second time. And let's see, did I have it set up the exact same way on the other one? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, okay. We can basically actually just copy, I didn't do this before, but we can just run the output from this same logic sequence to control the joiner for these two. So let's just grab another select. We'll call this one P2 join. And let's just control that from, I wonder, why did I do two of them before? It doesn't seem like it makes a difference. No, let me see. 0.5 of that, 0.5 of that. Let's go from there. Okay, yeah, it doesn't look like it would make a difference. So let's just run this. This will be controlled from the same one. Let's run these outputs into here and into here. So now we have P1 and P2 joined. And so now we're going to need to join them together. And so the first thing let's do, let me see. So I actually changed my setup a few times. I'm just going to have to try to remember how I had it, because once we get all this together, we're going to have to delete and change some things, and because I want to make additions for different sample lengths and then to work with the length knob of the sequencers. So I'm just going to try to go from my head on this. So let's divide the first one by we're going to divide them both by 2. So P1 join, let's run it into here and divide it by 2. And then P2 join, let's do the same thing. Here, let me kind of, all right, I'm just going to leave those there, yeah. Except this one will be there. So we're going to, here, let me put this like off here, okay? And then the second one will have a bias. And we'll set that to 50. And then let me see, how did I have all this? Yeah, I totally changed how I had it set up a few times. So I don't have the exact original setup. So let's, all right, let me just figure this out. So let's get a select. Let's run this into the top input, this into the bottom input, and then we're going to run this from the logic that switches the middle point of here. Oh shit, I hope I didn't run any of them off this logic. I don't think I did. So that'll be when it goes above 0.5, which is right here. So let's just take this logic point. And if you're using your own sequencers, it just has to be above 0.5 of the phase. We'll run that into there. And now let me just put this into the oscilloscope and see if our values look correct. Oh, something's wrong. Oh, it's not. P2. Oh, fuck. I ran those into there. Okay, we need to run these into here. Okay, whoops. Let's see. So what did I do wrong there? Bias divided by 2. Divided by 2. That goes into there. So I did something wrong. That's switching over to these, but they're not being joined correctly here. Okay, for 1. Oh, yeah, these were supposed to be divided by 2. That's what happened. Okay, I think that's what happened. Okay, yeah, I forgot to change the number. So, yeah. All right, I had a little brain lapse there. So it's working now. So if you follow the, if you look now at these, you can see as they're going through and what's going on here. And after the first go, you know, you're not hearing these because this is switched over to these ones. All right. So now let's just test out that this part is working with the sampler. And then we're going to have to do some modifications because, like I said, for 1, I want to have a modification that'll allow you to half or double time the sample. So if you're working with samples of different lengths, or you're doing half and double time tempo, whatever it might be. And then we're also going to have to change the control input for here. So if we have different lengths set on the samplers. But for now, let's just assign this to the sampler. And you know what? Wait, let's bring the sampler down there so we can see what the hell we're doing. Okay. Let's turn on the audio. Oh wait, let me turn off all these stutters. Let's just listen to it straight. All right, here, or what am I doing? Let's just turn these on. that? So something's wrong. Let's see. Okay, so there's already a problem, which is what the hell's going on? Let me try to figure this out. Oh, is it because I put that on 3 on accident? And let me just turn off this envelope. Oh, wait. Let's turn back on the envelope, but let's just have this. So that we can, when we let go. All right. So we can see this is moving correctly now. And we can just, see if we do the same thing we did earlier here. And if we do that, you can look now over here. All right. I'm going to keep these straight, though, because we're going to need that for the next changes that we're going to make. So the next thing that I want to do is basically allow us to say that the sample is half or double the length. And the way we're going to do that, hopefully I can remember how the hell I did that, but let me see. So I went into, I took a picture of it, so let me try to understand this for a second. Divided by 2 goes into the switcher. Okay. So this is the switcher. So, all right, so for the first lane, what we're going to do is we're going to have an option of, instead of this just being divided by 2, it'll allow us to divide by 1, 2, or 4, and we're going to run that into a merge module. So let's get a merge. Let's run that into here. Let's make this merge 3, put it on nearest. And let's duplicate this. Let's set this one to 4, this one to 2, and this one to 1. And now let's get a knob that's going to be called sample length. Let's go to level value. Let's call this sample length. Oh shit! Let me take it off of cap lock so we can see the whole thing. Sample length. That'll be our control input. And then we're going to have to do the same. So this is for the first side. So this is basically giving us the option of dividing and multiplying the length of the sample. And now for the other side, it's going to be a little bit more tricky. So let me see, how did I have it? All right. So what we're going to do is take a math and let's take, again, a merge and a split. Let's make this one 3. Nearest, or we can just copy this one. And then we're also going to get a split. What am I talking about? I mean a merge. I might be mixing up when I'm saying merge and split. It's just my brain having little lapses every now and then. So let's run this from the sample length. And then what we're going to do is... So let me see, how did I have that? So sample. Okay, so this goes into the, so this is for the second one. So let's just get rid of this. Run that into the division point. And then we're gonna, it looks like I had it. So this was just me playing with the values. So it might be not the easiest thing for me to exactly explain why these are the values that they are. It was kind of trial and error. So it looks like that one was at 50%, and this one was at 25%. And basically the whole purpose of this is because it needs to shift it at a different point. If the sample length is different, then it's going to have to cross over these at a different point, or else it'll jump within the sample. So this is just so that, so that's why it has to be done differently for the second sequencer array than the first sequencer array, is because it's picking it up at a different point. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so let's see if this all works. So this should be how it was. Is that all 8 sequencers are playing from the beginning to the end. Now let's do it here. So that's double the length, and it's kind of jumping because, yeah, it's jumping. And then if we put it over here, what it'll do is all 8 sequencers will play from the beginning to the halfway point. And even though this is really jumpy because of the amount of steps we have, so if you're going to do this, you could change the amount of steps you have, like on these sequencers over here, to make it, or else like you could also change where there's gates. Like you could have not as many gates, and it would make this play a lot smoother. Or you could have, there's all sorts of different things you could do to make this play smoother. But basically, this is the idea. All right, so that's basically our sample length knob. And this is, again, for me, the reason I put this in here was more for if I have like a 4-bar loop and a 2-bar loop, or whatever, they're going to work differently. So this just allows you to shift it to match whatever you need for the loop. And then like if you have like a hip hop thing and you want to make a drum and bass or whatever, you can put it here. All right. Okay, so now the last thing we're going to do is, if you remember, we have these length knobs. So I want, it has to be different. So let me just see, what the hell did I have for the length knob? So some of the values are going to have to be different depending on what we have. And I'm trying to look at this picture and remember what I did. Switcher goes into there, divided by... this makes no sense. Oh, okay. No, that makes perfect sense. That's easy. Okay. Yeah, this is actually not very hard to do, because basically the length is only going to matter when we switch from 8 to 4, because 4, 2, and 1 are all going to not need this switch point. So basically what I'm dealing with right now is so this, let me just call this switcher. Let me label everything clearly. Switcher, and let's just call this play pose. So basically the idea with this switcher was that it'll switch at the halfway point, because you see we're starting over again. So it switches from this array, which is up here, to this array over here. And that's just because I wanted a lot of steps, because I want fine resolution. And, of course you can adjust all these values and the way you have these things. If you only want 16 steps, you don't even need the second row. But anyway, the idea with the switcher is that it's being switched by the logic that controls this sequencer. Excuse me. So I just want to have different things for it. So it might have been a better way to do this, but I just did it with a merge module. Put it on nearest. Have this controlled by the length. So if it's all the way up, we're going to come out from the switcher into our play position. And so this should be going, so now this is going to go directly into the play position. And then just a second. So I had my join. Why did I send the divided by out? That doesn't make any sense. Divided by. Oh yeah, that does make sense. Divided by these values. Okay. Divided by 1, 2, and 4. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. So 21. This is controlled by sample length. So that was the first one. Sample length divided by. Okay. That comes out of there. All right. So the other ones are going to just come out of this divided by. All right. It just took me a second to trace the signal path to understand why. So basically, all it's doing is pretty much going to bypass the switcher and just play the first. Everything will just be on the first one if we're on the lower points of the length knob that are only playing 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, or 4 sequencers. So we can just run this into each of these inputs. And that should now be done. So now we can see that. So now if we have the length down, it'll just repeat this. If we bring it up here, up there, so that was the reason why we had to do all that. All right, so now let's just kind of move all this stuff off in space, because for the next installment of this whole series, I want your interface to look like mine, so I don't have to start the video off by cleaning up a bunch of messy stuff from the previous video. So let me just organize this, and then we can kind of play with these features for a second. I'm just going to put this here. I'm just going to kind of grab all this stuff. Let me just try to get these things kind of in the same window, just so I can grab it off, move it off in space, because we don't need to see any of this now. And yeah, hopefully we'll get containers in the grid at some point, so we can just contain all of this within one little container, and then just call, one little container module that you don't need to see, and just run the necessary outputs. But let me just grab a label over here and just call this slicer. And yeah, if anybody knows better ways of doing this stuff, feel free to let me know. This has been, just I have so many different versions of these things, because I'm always kind of nerding out with it, trying to find cool ways to do this stuff. But so now, yeah, we can. What was that? Here, we just did like this. Let's do the same thing maybe over here. And you can see it's going to, if we look at the sample play, now it's going to be selected. And then, yeah, we can just, whatever, do some random notes if we want, just to make it sound weird. I'm not really thinking about this, but here, and then throw some stutters in, and we have our little instant retro break core. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's that. So I'm going to leave this like this and continue on this tutorial series. For the next installment, we'll basically add the functions for pitch, for note input, and then after that, I'll add a sequencer that'll sequence between the different sampler types, and then add the granular parameters and all that. So it'll end up being like, I didn't open up that patch in this video, but if you saw the first video at the beginning of the series, it'll have all of those features. But yeah, the cool thing too, you can see now too, is that these run in different times. So like I can, change the timing right here now. So you see this is now going half the direction of that, and we can do the same, half the timing of that, and then we can do the same thing, with direction. For example, now we can have this like play backwards while the other one plays forwards. Yeah, so that's the kind of fun thing about having multiple sequencer lanes that are running out of time and direction with each other, is you can just play with those and get instant variations off of the whole thing. And then, yeah, I didn't add it on this patch yet, but you can always add a global time to just half time and double time everything very simply by just, putting a split and a merge with a couple scalars in between it. Yeah, and then, so now we just have these things off in space and all of this. All right, cool. Thanks for watching. Bye.